Hello and welcome to Conscious TV. My name is Renate McNay and my guest today is Susanne Marie. Hello, Susanne.
Hello.
Susanne is a spiritual mentor and a spiritual guide, and she's visiting us from California, and we are very happy that you came all the way to be with us.
Thank you.
So Susanne, you are one of these rare women, I have to say rare women, because I really was looking out for them, who had a profound awakening within the context of raising children.
Yes.
And I would like to talk with you about it. And it's interesting because some weeks ago I interviewed somebody I had dinner with in the evening, and he came with his partner. And I asked her, are you awake? I asked her.
Yeah.
And he answered and said, she cannot wake up. And then he said, a woman who has to attend to children cannot wake up. And that is his experience in working with women. With mothers. And I remember also Adyashanti saying that he has so many young mothers who are, when they intuitively feel that they are approaching the infinite, they pull back. Because they say, I don't know if I'm a good mother afterwards.
Right.
I don't know what happens. So I'm really interested in exploring this subject.
Sure.
And
yeah.
So how was your experience?
Well, for me it was a choiceless thing. So I didn't have the experience of approaching awakening and having an opportunity to say no. It just grabbed me.
Okay.
And I fell into the abyss of it without actually at first knowing that that's what awakening was.
So you were not looking. Were you on a spiritual path at that moment?
Well, I've always been on a spiritual path.
Yes.
So what I mean by that is that when I was a child, I had the experience of knowing myself as being one with everything.
Yeah.
And the way that I discovered that was by the process of that starting to ebb away in my around 7 or 8 and going into my 9th year. And it was very painful, very, very painful. And I felt like I had the way I describe it, I felt like I had a cloak put over me.
Yeah.
And it was starting to snuff out what it was that I knew to be true. And I didn't have words for it. I didn't have the awareness of unity consciousness and so on. I just knew how I felt, the experience of oneness.
So does that mean your experience was you did not feel separate from your parents or from your environment?
From anything, yeah.
From anything?
Yeah.
How interesting.
Yeah. And then through my parents and adults around me taught me what being separate was like.
Yeah.
And I think that happens for most children, but maybe younger, where the feeling of separation begins younger.
Yes.
So when that started to ebb, it didn't fully go away, but when the experience of unity started to ebb, I was immediately looking for that part, because I was looking for it in other people's eyes. I was looking for myself, because a part of me felt like it had gone away.
So that was more an intuitive searching than you didn't probably know what you were looking for.
No, I was just looking for like acknowledgement from the adults, I suppose, from others, to see if they knew who they were, if they could look back at me with eyes that were revealing that they knew who they were. And I didn't find many eyes like that.
Yeah.
Off and on I did. you know, which was very helpful.
Yeah.
So, so I would say that already as a teen, I was starting to go on a more intense spiritual search because it became evident to me that I didn't want to build a persona. I didn't want to become somebody, and that really became evident in my early 20s when I was going to college and I was confused about completing something.
So when you say you didn't want it to become a persona, can you say more about that? Because does that mean you didn't want it to build structures, ego structures?
Right,
or,
right. Yeah, I always wanted to be authentic and true to myself. And I couldn't. I had a hard time discovering a career path or something that resonated with me, that felt true. And I was unwilling to just do what my parents wanted me to do and become something. What so many people were doing, becoming something, having identity in the career of their choice and so on. And there was something that was leading me deeper. And by saying no, even though it was sometimes hard to follow my truth, by saying no, I was being guided within to a deeper place of finding out what was really true for me.
Yeah. And how was that then when you had the children yourself?
So I knew from a very young age that I wanted to have children.
Yeah.
Excuse me. From when I was a little girl, I knew I was going to have a boy and a girl. So when I had my children, I took it very seriously. I was like, in terms of wanting to be the absolute best parent that I could be, doing the attachment parenting and as conscious as I could, family bed and nursing for as long as I could and all these things, and really wanting to be present for them and wanting to give them what I felt like I hadn't received myself, which was the gift of presence.
Yeah.
And being able to really meet them and look in their eyes and validate their beingness.
And did they respond?
Beautifully.
Because we all come in already with a certain package, I think.
Yeah.
And
yeah. And they still respond. I mean, they're teenagers now.
Yeah.
And they look at people and they're able to they're here.
Yeah.
And so many children are. And a lot of it gets lost by the adults around them not just letting them be.
Yes.
Letting them be themselves.
Yeah. And your children were very young. I think they were 3 and 4 or
3 and
something.
5
when you were blown apart, when you when you had this profound awakening. Would you tell us what happened in your awakening?
Right. So I had been a natural mystic in my late teens and 20s.
And what does that mean?
So what that means is that I easily went to other realms and in meditation, and I was guided in my dreams.
Yeah.
I was guided in my dreams and had beings come to me and teach me and give me things that I needed. And I feel like it was a lot of clearing. A lot of clearing was happening, and I felt so blessed and guided. And I was a bit ungrounded on the earth. The children, they helped ground me, I have to say, because it made me have to be here and be present to them. But in terms of my relating to life, to work and things that are like what people do, what humans do, I was still kind of naive. I had a naivety to me.
Yeah.
And
when you had to be more here for your children, did you lose somehow the connection the lucidity, you know, to the
No.
mystery. So you could hold that.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
I went to go see, my children and I, we went on a yearly or sometimes twice yearly pilgrimage to see Amachi.
Uh-huh.
Who's
So
an
maybe
Indian
you explain
saint.
who that is.
Yeah, she's an Indian guru.
Yeah.
And she lives in India, and she comes to the States a few times a year, and she has an ashram in California where I live.
Mm-hmm.
And she comes and she gives hugs. She's called the Hugging Saint.
Yes.
And she's very politically active. She's a wonderful role model for me as a woman to have, how engaged she is with others, and how willing she is to meet each person that comes to her and be available to them.
Mm-hmm.
So
she's also coming to the UK. I sometimes see a poster, but I never made it to be there. But I hear beautiful things.
Yeah. She's beautiful. Yeah. So my kids would come with me, and they loved it. They loved the environment, and I meditated a lot while they were growing up, and I had this idea, this bit of a naive idea, that spirituality was going to be something that would be obtained, like my freedom would be something that would be obtained by being in a constant state of harmony and bliss. I thought it would be a state, achievable state, and I felt confident.
So
actually.
That means you worked for something. You wanted to reach something.
I worked for it, but I wasn't. I trusted, actually, even then. I really trusted that I had an inherent trust, probably from my childhood. But what I wanted was that feeling back. What I wanted was the sense of knowing that for the feeling of separation to drop. You know, that's what I was really wanting. Yes. And I would enter into it, and then it would ebb, and then I would enter into it. So, yeah.
So then,
excuse me. Yeah. When the kids were 3 and 5, I had a series of tragedies that happened in a short period of time.
Yeah.
And my the kids' father, we were together until the kids were 3 and 5, and he needed to leave. He needed to take care of himself. He wasn't doing well. Yeah. So he left the family, and he came back on the weekends and stuff. But essentially, I was left alone with the children. Very young children. Yeah. And then 3 months later, my brother died. Yeah. And my brother, he was a year younger than I, and we grew up so close, so very, very close. Yeah. And that unity experience that I'm describing that I had as a child, we were in this bubble together, this like unity bubble, that even when the adults in their innocent personalities, when they would do their thing, which a lot of adults tend to do, Daniel and I would be in this like understanding together. So losing him, even though he was living elsewhere, blew my world apart. Yeah, blew my world apart, because I actually
he was your soulmate, or
he was just the closest thing that I knew, and it blew my idea of this, like, feeling safe in the world was really compromised. I think that having those spiritual, mystical experiences was kind of a buffer, and it protected me. I felt like it protected me on some level from the harshness of reality. So when that happened and Daniel died, immediately within 24 hours, I asked these spiritual guides that I had some real clear guidance and
Yeah.
guides,
Yeah.
and I asked them to leave me alone. I felt betrayed. It was just a kind of
Interesting.
a,
Yeah.
you know.
And you wanted to know where he went.
I did. Yeah, I
Yeah.
wanted to know where he went,
Yeah.
and I made a vow.
Yeah.
I made a commitment to find out,
Yeah.
and I. With these little kids, you know, with my 2 children sleeping next to me because we did a family bed.
Yeah.
So I would just lay in the middle and travel through these bardos with him, energetically.
Yeah.
So I was tracking him, and for hours every night.
So you found him.
Mhm.
You found his energy,
Yeah.
or what was left. Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you have the feeling he realized that?
I don't know. That I don't
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
I don't know. It wasn't like I had communication with him. It was more energetic.
Yeah.
It was all energetic.
Yeah.
Um,
And how far could you go with him?
well,
Because there are different, you know,
yeah.
levels within the bardos. I mean, within the Buddhist tradition,
Yeah, as
we
far as
go
we know.
through.
Yeah. And I
Yeah.
didn't, by the way, I wasn't studying Buddhism at the time.
No.
This
no.
was just a intuitive thing. And I really feel like it was, actually, I feel like it was a setup. I almost feel like it was, you know, sometimes you can feel how some things are predetermined or
Yeah,
something.
yeah.
And so my traveling with him was a combination of freeing him and freeing myself. We were so interconnected. So he was free. He was what he was starting to disappear as it went on. It actually felt directional. You know, if like energetically, it felt directional.
So the disappearance, did you mean structures which still were
The
there?
sense of
Daniel.
of Daniel, like what had been built up.
Yes.
And, you know, who knows, maybe not just from this life, but what had been built up
Yeah.
was going through its disintegration process.
Right.
And I don't know what was being experienced on that end, but I was just experiencing it on my end as a dissolution.
Yeah.
And I was committed to go to the end with him.
Yeah.
And then it could have been longer than 3 weeks. I have to say, I can't remember the time very well. You know, it was just, you know, in one of my journals I wrote 3 months, but it could have been 3 weeks. I don't know, you know. But at some point, because at that point time really disappeared for me. I was in a I don't know, you know, when you experience a deep grief,
Yeah.
it's a lot falls away, and a lot gets cloudy too, you know. So there was this point where I just remember that he was no more. It was just like this thin thread, yeah, that just like disappeared, and there I was like, and it was over. It was over.
And what happened to your grief then? What happened to you with the realization he is annihilated, he's gone?
Yeah. Well, that has been a process. The understanding on the human level that he's really gone is it's almost like one catches up over time to a reality so profound and so big. It comes in chunks and pieces and moments, you know, he's really gone. Because that was kind of a timeless experience of going with him into the timeless. And going through that last little veil, there was something that didn't leave. There was something in here that felt like it was also gone. You know, it was also in the beyond, and that's remained. That's remained. Yeah.
Good. Do you have a feel what that is?
It was a gift. and it was like the gift of Daniel, you know, like
Yeah.
the gift of Daniel to know myself as the beyond while being here, while being in form and you know, functioning.
Right.
So there's a peace that is in the unborn. That's all I can say. It's kind of an unmovable. It's not absence, you
Yeah.
know. It's and it's not like even doesn't even feel like pure potentiality. It just feels like the beyond. It just feels like the beyond. And for a while I was explaining like it felt like one foot was in the beyond and one foot was engaged.
Yeah.
You
In
know?
this life.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Which had to be engaged to care for your children, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's the part of you know, coming back to parenting.
Yes. Yeah.
You know that. So I feel like it was for them to be so little was I think it would have been harder if they had been older, because their needs, I could meet their needs at that time, going through everything that I was going through, because my ability to communicate really fell away.
Yeah.
My ability to be like tracking time really fell away, and they were so little that I was able to meet them and be with them in the moment.
Yeah.
You know, not having to plan their schooling, and it was like right before kindergarten.
Yeah. You were also telling me that as the structures within you started to disintegrate, you know, there was a kind of a groundlessness, which the children also, I mean, the children need ground in this age.
Excuse me, yeah.
Yeah. So I guess that wasn't easy for your children then.
You know, that I don't know. It was
Yeah.
later. It's later that I wonder about that.
Yeah,
With my son, who's 17, almost 17, but with my daughter, I think it was okay. She was 3, but other things were happening for my son that he didn't have good support. His father had left, and things like that.
Sure.
But at the time, it didn't cross my mind.
Yeah.
Because I was so enveloped and engrossed in the moment to moment.
Yeah.
And just being able to, you know, like I caught myself putting like the ketchup in the freezer. You know, like there were just these moments where things were falling away so radically.
You started to dysfunction?
Yeah, a little bit. I was like, you know, a little bit of dysfunction. And I actually appreciated the being in the role of mother. It gave me a focus.
Yeah.
It narrowed down consciousness to the point of being able to have a reason for actually showing up here.
Right.
Because there was so much that was falling away.
Was there sometimes a feeling in you or a thought that you wished to be on your own and expand into the nothingness or stillness?
There were times when I
Yeah.
felt like it would be really helpful. And then
Yeah.
sometimes the kid's father would come on the weekends when they were a little bit older.
Yeah.
And I would, like when Gaia was 5, that's when it started. So for 2 years I was really with her and with them. But when she was 5, I would take some weekends here and there. And I would go on actually to a little retreat center and do personal retreat, just like a hermitage kind of thing. And then things would just, you know, take over. But a lot of undoing was happening in the night, and a lot of undoing was happening while they were occupied, and even while driving. It just like, it used whatever opportunity it could to undo itself.
And did you have a kind of a practice in this time? Like, did you meditate, or what was it you said, okay, the children helped to focus consciousness. was there anything else which supported you in your own process at that time? Did you read books or
Yeah, yeah.
anything?
Well, first of all, I feel lucky in that I had an inherent trust.
Yeah.
And you know, because you know, some people get scared when things start falling away. When
That's
you start,
right.
you know, I was seeing through the nature of things. Like I saw the ephemeral nature of things. I would look at something and it would just become you know, flat, and color would be gone, because all the meaning that I had given to reality was returning back. Everything that I had believed in was returning back to the source of that had given the meaning.
Yeah, so can you say a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so there was a desire to really understand the nature of things.
Yeah.
And it wasn't, all this came spontaneously.
Yeah.
And so, you know, the kids could be playing, you know, and I could be staring at something. And it would be a meditation. Just then, it would be meditation. Mm-hmm. And there would be it's sort of this, like everything that, I know these words later. At the time I didn't understand.
Sure.
It was just the spontaneous thing.
Mm-hmm.
that everything that I had believed in, like, oh, that's a lamp.
Mm-hmm.
That returned, like that lamp, the idea of it just ebbed away and it became just flat.
Right.
Or a car.
Yeah.
And I even did that with language, like with words. And I couldn't read anymore. I couldn't look at a page with writing. It made no sense. The words just it would be scrambled.
Yeah.
And
so it went back into the nameless.
yes, back into the nameless, even language, like realizing that we infuse meaning into words.
Yeah.
We put ourselves into everything.
Yes. But then how did you do that with the children? You know, you had to explain. You know, kids constantly ask, what is that, and why, and how does that function? You know, I have 2 grandchildren in this age. And they want to know everything and take everything apart. So in a way, for you, it was all residing, but yet you need to teach them. You need to teach them structure, ego structure.
Yeah. Well, I just, the pace and the beauty of the children was something I could meet. Yeah. And the innocence of their questions, you know, I could meet. And I was in a place of deconstruction, but I was also in a place of wonder. So I enjoyed exploring with them about, you know, things. And I didn't explain everything. I was kind of the kids started to go to a Waldorf kindergarten, and it really suited me that though in kindergarten they say, I wonder a lot to the kids. Like the kids say, unless it's a real practical question, instead of giving an answer to everything, they would say, I wonder. Like, how far is the moon? Or, you know, they say, I wonder. And it just leaves this kind of opening.
Yes.
And so that it doesn't become such a linear thing. And so that really worked for me.
That's beautiful.
You know, it's like, let's stay as open as we can in this, because that was the space I was in too. And gratefully, you know, the falling apart of belief structures, I call them platforms of belief, like what I realized is that everything is empty except for these mind-made platforms of belief, that identity, what we take ourselves as, it jumps from platform to platform, imagining that those are real. In between is all this space. So those platforms of belief were disintegrating, and there was more emptiness there. But that didn't mean that I couldn't meet the children and what they were starting to, you know,
Need.
infuse life into. They were starting to believe in things.
Yeah.
And it was an interesting thing to be dismantling at the same time that they're building up identity.
Yeah.
But it's so innocent, and I saw, luckily, I feel I saw the whole thing as completely innocent. I saw the building of an I, being an I story, believing that we're somebody, is just part of developmental. It's developmental.
Yeah.
And biological, and it helps us differentiate. It helps us navigate this world.
You said it very beautiful. If I can find it, there's no mistake. It's just through nature, consciousness finding out about itself.
It is. It's a total. I mean, if you look at children, they're just delighted with
Yeah.
exploring themselves.
Yeah.
And bumping up against life to find out about themselves.
Yeah.
You know?
It's just when I sometimes sit and observe my grandchildren, you know, how the ego structure develops and how they are getting more and more identified with form, with their face when they look in the mirror, and I feel saddened. There is some sadness in me arising. You know, that they have to go through all that to wake up, to find back home.
Right.
And somehow you cannot save them.
No, you can't.
No.
But when you know inside that what's really true, you know, that we're free, and that this,
despite all that,
of course, despite it, right? That I just can't believe in it anymore. I just can't believe in it, and they grew up with somebody who just doesn't believe in it. At the same time, honoring them. I don't know what that does for children.
Well, do they realize that now? How different they are than, or how different they were raised than other children?
I don't think so.
No?
No. I mean, they see me do my groups in the house, and they're like, oh, here comes mom's spiritual friends. Don't let them eat all the cookies, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're just like, your spiritual friends are really hungry. But, you know, one time my son asked me, you know, what I do or about it. Because I don't talk about this stuff with them, you know. If they want to know something, if they ask me, I'll tell them. But I'm sure that it's infused and it's part of, you know, at least, you know, so much of what we get from one another is energetic. So they have a mother who energetically, that I am the way I am.
Sure.
Right? So, but one time my son asked me, he must have been 14 or something like 15, and he sat down next to me, he said, so Mom, what is this spiritual stuff about? And I thought it was sweet, you know, and I just, like, in 5 minutes or so, I explained, you know. And I think I took a little piece of paper, and it wasn't like I was waiting for this at all, so it was all spontaneous, you know. I'd be fine if they never asked me. I said, well, so I drew a circle, and I said, so I started off here at the top of the circle, my childhood, you know, and I knew who I was. But then somehow I started to forget, and I kind of drew down the circle, and I went on a journey to find myself, and I went back, and I started to remember more and more and more and more about myself, because that's what I call it. I call it a remembering, instead of an awakening. And those words are fine, but for me it was a remembering. And I said, and that's why I ended up back here, you know, right here. But what I didn't say was that, you know, that's so much growth and so much deepening, and immense amount of learning has happened through the act of forgetting. I mean, so much growth happens through forgetting. And he said, well, why didn't you just stay there? Why did you move? Why didn't you just stay there?
Yeah, good question.
And I said, that's it. I said, that's why, you're perfect the way you are, where you are at. I just, so for me, if they never go on any kind of journey, or if they do, that's not for me to know what's right for them. I don't know. So,
is there, out of your own experience, any advice you can give to mothers who are going through an awakening in the moment, or are just simply on a search?
Well, there's some things that I could say, and one is that whatever a mother or a father, would give themselves, they give to their children. So any unraveling, that someone can do to get back to their true nature, to their authentic selves, that's a gift that they give their own children, because children are naturally authentic, and it's something. And we were all children, and so when we leave ourselves, it's a pain, it hurts, and so that's what later, for some people, creates a seeker to want to come back home to the feeling of wholeness. Now, whether that was when you were in the womb or when you were a little infant, but the memory of it is there.
Yeah.
And we wouldn't be going to look for something if we didn't know it inside.
Yeah.
We wouldn't be searching for something if we didn't already have a sense.
Yeah. It's very beautiful what you just said, and it touches me because my oldest son did not lose contact with oneness as well, and I had no idea. And only when I started to wake up myself, he was 17 then, he came to me and said, "So, Mommy, everything you just found out about who you are and what God is, or this world, I always knew, but I never could communicate with you about it because you weren't ready."
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Wow.
And of course, only then I really could see him. Yeah,
oh, that's
who he
beautiful.
was. Yeah.
That's beautiful.
So that completely resonates with me, what you just said.
Yeah.
What you do for yourself, know, it's also nourishing the soul of your children.
Yeah.
And helping them in the process. Yeah. So one other thing I would like to talk with you about, something you say is close to your heart, which is embodiment.
Yeah.
And I want you to explain what embodiment means for you.
Well, you can break up the word and see that body is in there, and M, like going in, being with the body. When I was in my early 20s, I studied yoga and meditation, and it was part of my wanting to return back to wholeness. And yoga made so much sense to me because I felt like I was landing back in myself and resting in between all the asanas and everything. I would just rest and be with myself and feel the stored conditioning, the things that had been built up that wanted to be met. I felt into them through yoga. And at some point, when the kids were little and I was still doing some yoga, it started, my yoga became more of the daily life, you know, because yoga can be everything. Yoga means union.
Is a practice,
As a practice, yes.
Yeah.
So I tend to be a body type in the sense that I discover a lot about myself through the body, and I learn about myself, and I trust in what it's telling me. I trust in the intelligence of the body. So before remembering myself, I was already, I already had an understanding that that all of this is mind, not just this, but this, all of this is intelligent and informs me.
Yeah.
It gives me clues every moment of what's going on through sensation and through experience.
This is also, do you mean also this is all emotions?
Yeah.
Everything is stored in our cells.
Completely.
Yeah.
It's such a storehouse of memory.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so, so I trusted in that, and I felt like I was cleansed quite a bit internally through having met myself so much over the years. But when the big dropping away happened, when my brother died and those experiences happened, I didn't mention that my father died 9 months after my brother.
Yeah.
So that was another, you know, huge shake,
Yes.
an earthquake of all the paradigms that I had believed in were wiped out.
That's how your security system fell.
My whole security system, including financial, you know,
Yeah.
everything, all the support systems were shaken free,
Yeah.
loose, and then shaken free.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because I was like, what's real?
Yes.
Well, what's really real? That
Yeah.
doesn't support me. What's really real?
Yeah.
But so once all that happened, and the mind wanted to understand. First, I'm going backwards before I get back into the embodiment piece.
Yeah.
So the mind wanted to understand itself. It really did. It wanted to understand what is real, and in the end, who am I? The I. What is the I? And then I discovered Ramana and Adyashanti later.
Yeah.
Different teachers that showed me that I was on the right track.
Mm-hmm.
It's so nice to have these different things. And the book I Am That was like my Bible beside my bed for
That's
years.
Nisargadatta.
Nisargadatta.
Yeah.
Yeah, with the kids being small, I mean, I would, you know, that was like my Bible. I was just reading these.
That gave you a holding somehow.
It did.
Yeah.
It did, because I trusted.
Mm-hmm.
You know, just like Nisargadatta, he trusted his teacher.
Yeah.
I trusted in what was happening to me, and then I trusted that there was reflection by these other masters who said that this is real. You know, this is real, and it's okay to have things fall, so to disintegrate completely. You can trust that. So, but that was kind of the embodiment piece wasn't happening right then. It's like the yoga had ebbed, and it was more of a mind experience, of mind waking up to itself, is how I describe it. Because everything is already that, but what doesn't know that? And so there was mind that was wanting to know it, and it was already had a felt sense of it, but so all the pieces that didn't know that were starting to meet itself. I don't know how to put it, but it's like mind has, in my experience, mind has the capacity to wake up to itself.
Yes.
Yeah.
And what does the mind use for that?
Yeah, it uses, well, mind is made, the substance of mind is made of the God self.
Yes.
The substance of mind is made of God self, just
Yes.
because parts of mind are lost, seemingly lost.
So it's like what you said earlier, everything is there,
Yeah.
but he just needs to remember that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, totally. And then those veils
Yeah.
that seem to layer the remembering, the knowing,
Yes.
they get to be seen through. So that's like what they call sadhana, or the work, is being able to see through those veils.
Yeah.
And then it becomes lighter. You can feel it. You feel like you're getting closer. You know? It is funny because it is sort of a journey
Yes.
to be one's natural self, because these veils have been built. Like when I said I felt like a cloak had come over me. Well, that cloak wanted to be seen through, and it had its own intelligence of how to do that.
Yeah, so you did it through yoga, by bringing attention to all these different structures.
Yeah, prior to the big shakedown, you know, in 2002,
Yeah.
with my brother dying, it was through yoga, and I was aware that it was becoming thinner. I could feel myself more and more. I could feel my true nature.
Uh-huh.
And then what happened collapsed it. And what I'm guessing...
How did you feel your true nature?
Yeah?
How is the feeling?
It's a sense. It's a sense. It's a really profound sense of understanding. Like the understanding becomes one of body knowing, a sense.
It's a knowingness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, knowingness. And you can feel into it. Just like you can feel into the sense of I, of having a sense of I.
Yeah.
You can actually feel it.
Yes.
Well, you can feel...
Oh yeah, it's like a body armor. I can feel it in my whole system.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
So, you know, but the sense of self, the sense of what we really are, is deeper than that sense of the I.
Yeah.
And it contains it.
It's almost like a stillness you touch in, which is pervading.
That's nice, yeah. Yeah. So, back to the embodiment.
Yes.
So once the mind was, I guess, satisfied, something was satisfied. It was, you know, since then the mind has just been fine. It's like not a problem. So some kind of like, it rested. It came to rest in what it really is, its true nature. And
it stopped bothering you?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Bother doesn't matter anymore if bother happens.
So does that mean when the mind comes to rest, the body starts releasing automatically?
Yeah, so then...
How does that work?
Yeah, exactly. So the inherent intelligence of what we are, which is guiding the whole thing of undoing, everything that gets built up, you know, gets to be undone. Yeah. And you can see that in nature, you can see that in everything, goes back to its essential, right? It disintegrates. Yeah. So everything that gets built up gets undone. Yeah. And that includes in a lifetime. Yeah. And we don't know when that'll be or how. That's part of the mystery of how and when that happens. So so then the undoing's still happening. You know, the undoing's still happening, like the
you said the
meeting.
Embodiment goes on for the rest of your life.
It feels like it because it's not just undoing.
Yeah.
It's also getting to know itself as the whole. Yeah. So it undoes, and it comes out and it learns about itself through other, you know, through everything. It's just awareness itself, learning about how vast and beautifully complex and what capacity it has to penetrate itself and to know itself as every little thing. So then feeling and thought and experience is all welcomed, and it's part of the exploration. It becomes part of the the love that it has for itself. It doesn't want to turn away from anything. So that's part of the embodiment,
Yeah.
is learning to turn towards as opposed to away.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. Welcoming everything.
Welcoming
Yeah.
everything.
Mm.
On and on and on and on.
Mm.
And how could that ever end? Because we don't know. It's so vast.
Yeah, and you know, in a way, what I think or what I feel is not everybody is ready yet for the embodiment. It's really being is really being able to say yes, as you say, to everything. And it's just so much easier to hang out in the absolute reality, detached from the messiness and from ever what we are feeling, which is also shown in the state of our planet. You know, for me, as we were speaking earlier about, the embodiment is very connected with Mother Earth also. Only then, when we are embodied fully, we know what the Earth needs. Because that
Absolutely.
is one thing.
It is one thing.
Yeah.
And we get to feel the allowance that Mother Earth has. I mean, look at look at everything that's arising.
Yeah.
There's such allowance.
She's shaking in the moment.
It
and
doesn't
there
mean
are
that it's
storms
sustainable.
everywhere, but she's still holding
Yeah,
us.
it doesn't mean it's sustainable.
Mm, mm,
But there's an allowance.
yeah.
And that's our capacity, because we're that.
Yes.
There's an allowance. Yeah.
Mm.
And there's a inherent beauty in that shakedown, and incredibly also, sad in different kinds of ways. And to let yourself feel all that, let yourself really experience all that.
Yeah.
It opens us up further to what's possible. So we're not limiting
Yeah.
our experience. Yeah.
So in your guidance with people in your groups, how do you? I mean, we only have a couple of minutes left, but explain a little bit what you do with people. How do you connect them to their? How do you help them embodying and connect them to guide them to who they are?
Well, there's I like to really support beingness in the group.
Yeah.
And really invite people to come forward with what they know to be true. So there's an invitation there for allowance, and for many people, it's that can be already so much of just being invited to finally be and to rest, and to maybe be with their experience as it's arising right now, and tell the truth, to finally tell the truth of what's going on right now, and including it all, including what's going on, if there's nervousness or judgment, or even if there's love emerging, to tell the truth.
And where they pick it up in their body, I guess,
Well,
isn't it about to feel it in your system?
Yeah, exactly. There's just a language that we use, that I like to use in the group, of being able to start to pay attention to what is happening here.
Yeah.
And because presence can be known here, here, and here. And they actually have, it's a kind of a slightly different experience for each one. And not to only direct here, because there are times it's really appropriate to know the spaciousness of what we are through mind. Other times you just feel this love for the whole. Right? It starts to emerge for self first. So that's what I really like to point to. And then finally, the instinctual response, the fear itself, the fight or flight, and what's going on here, to start telling the truth about that. Yeah.
Great.
Many places to go.
So I just want to spend one moment to read something which I picked up from your website, which I thought was really beautiful. There is a growing movement in the awareness of the collective consciousness to include the understanding that our bodies are divine. Consciousness is evolving to include all of itself. The era of recognizing the absolute truth that I am not the body is expanding. It's beautiful.
Thank you, yeah.
And well,
maybe
we
so.
have a long way to go there. But evolution is happening.
It is, and things happen quickly.
Yes.
They can.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much,
Thank you so much,
for
Renate.
being with us, Susanne,
Yeah,
and sharing your insights. And thank you for watching Conscious TV, and I hope to see you again soon. Goodbye.